Dave's O'Neill doing his video of Gaul, United Kingdom. Last video, it cut out part one because there was no memory left. I hadn't deleted any videos for ages, so I'll carry on where I left off. It might work out better breaking the video up this rather than a long one than a short one. So I was saying about how in Odessa all the Russian speaking people were surrounded in this building, the old Union building, and they set fire to it and they wouldn't allow the people out, and it was like they were burning alive Russian speaking people, the protesters who were escaping, and they were all around it chanting. So you can imagine going, burn, 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 you bastards, you know, you can imagine it. It's a mob mentality. It's like The Simpsons when they come out with the pitchforks. It's exactly the same when the mob turns. It's a mindless mob. It has an energy of its own, just like with when they were beating up Trump supporters in different places in America. It is what it is, you know. That's what it is, you know. It's the mob mentality. It's The Simpsons. It's the pitchforks and the torches, you know, coming to burn Homer's house down. So there was a guy, when you watch the video, because I'm going to give you a link to my video. I'll give you a link to the one where you see the Russian speakers getting beat up, and then I'm going to give you a link to my video where I talked about it. And when you open the information, you can go on the links and watch the videos. And there was a guy from a second story window. He climbed on the ledge because he was burning. All his clothes are burning, the heat is being driven out. Just like 9/11 when you see the people at the windows. Help me, help me. But these Russian speaking people are burning alive and they don't know what to do. So they're at the window and you got this guy, he goes on the ledge and he falls off the ledge and he goes, woo, boom, and he bounces off the concrete. And then they rush in with iron bars and start beating him. Now you can see Ukrainian policemen doing nothing. The crowd won't let the fire brigade in because they want these Russians to burn. Now I followed this up over the next few days. And I found a video of the mob got into the building because you got part of it on fire and part of it's not, whatever. But they got into the building. It might have been before the fire or as the fire's starting to get old, but they got into the building. And they got a Russian speaking woman and they raped her. And when the cameras went in a couple of days later, these bodies on the stairs, burnt, charcoal. Memories of Waco. And on the top floor, there was a woman on a desk. And she's on her back, legs open. The dress is up, she's burnt. So you think, well, how did she burn like that on the desk? Well, it's because they raped her and shot her in the head. You go, oh, that's Russian propaganda. Yeah, I saw the body. I saw it. That's the level of hatred that the Ukrainians had for the Russians. That was a psychological operation by the CIA, the State Department, to build up the hatred. To break them away from Russia so that they can then become part of the capitalist system where their resources are stolen for bank debt, for loans that they have to pay back. They have to hand over their resources. Because this is the period as well of the Greece falling apart, where the European Central Bank basically took all Greeks' resources to pay off the debt. There's no difference between Greece and the Ukraine, because Greece isn't a Catholic country, you see. Greece is Eastern Orthodox. It's very closely associated to Russia and the Eastern Empire of the the Pope, the other Pope, the Constantine Pope, because you had two popes, two empires. Greece is more of that world. So even though it's part of Europe, Catholic Europe, Treaty of Rome, it's been treated like shit and raped financially. because it's not of the Catholic Church, so it's had to subjugate itself. You know, it's all, when you sit back and look at it, you go, yeah, I can see it. So now we've got this thing building up where, oh, the Ukraine and Russia's going to attack the Ukraine, Russia's not going to attack the Ukraine. What the Ukraine's trying to do is trying to provoke Russia, and you can't provoke Putin, because Putin knows it's all hot air. He knows it's all windbag stuff. That's why I did the video. Putin wins a war without firing a shot against Obama. When he took the Crimea, that was it. That exposed the bluff of America to the world. Just like it did with Georgia when they invaded South Ossetia, and then Russia panned them in 4 days. And America didn't do anything. I remember Condoleezza Rice jumping on a plane, and she was flying round the capitals of Europe, because you saw her getting off the plane and getting back, and she was trying to build up a coalition to take Russia on over Georgia. And not one European country backed her. And she had to go back to George Bush, to Washington DC, to the Congress and the Senate, totally humiliated. And the Georgians were like that. Yeah, but you promised us you'd help us. That's why we attacked South Ossetia. No. It's all bullshit. And the Ukraine was bullshit. That's why they lost the 2 regions. Donbass and the other one. That's why they lost them. It was all bullshit. It was bluff. Europe's like that. I don't want to know. Just like they told Condoleezza Rice against Georgia, now to do with us, governor. And that's what Europe did over the Ukraine. Now to do with us, governor. Germany, Europe will play the long game. And I've told you, the American military, the American resources, American riches, the American people, they're just a resource of the Vatican in the Vatican Wars, the Catholic Wars, that have happened and are to come. They're just a resource. And eventually America will be Catholicised. So, I'll give you those videos. And what's the next war? I actually think there will be a skirmish. I think there'll be a short, sharp slap. Where it has to happen. It's like the pressure cooker, it has to happen. What's the war going to be like? Well, I'm going to give you a video. In fact, I'll have to add another one. I'll give you a video of the Azerbaijan-Armenia war. And it's all the footage. It's the footage of the drones. And this is stuff we've not been told either. We've been shown a little bit. But this Indian YouTube channel, like reporters, they've done a big report. They've done a full report on the war, because they're interested in war because of China. And Azerbaijan planned this war for a couple of years, for a long time. They've had it all planned to perfection, where they've done it with drones, and they wiped out the Armenian military. They just totally annihilated it with drones. And you see these videos, what you've not seen before on the news. You see these videos of stuff going on, and they give you a link to where you can go see everything. Because there's been a big report on it, you see, because it's changed warfare. The Azerbaijan-Armenian war has totally changed warfare. And it's the Turks and the Israel. There's 2 types of drones. There's the Turkish one, the standoff, firing missiles, and then these Israeli suicide drones. A lot smaller, cheaper. And the suicide drones that come in onto a position or a tank or an armoured vehicle, they're like disposable drones. So you've had the Turks and the Israelis working hand in hand to give or to sell the Armenians, the Azerbaijanis, who've got a load of natural gas and oil. They've sold them all this military equipment, and they've wiped the floor with Armenia, who are backed by Russia. So you think, what the fuck's going on? You know, when you watch this, you're thinking, do they fancy their chances against Russia? do certain people. And it makes you wonder, what is the level of drone warfare that America is capable of? Because here we've got Turkey and Israel in a small war. But the reason why this Indian YouTube channel has took an interest in is because India has had to order loads and loads of drones off Turkey and Israel because Pakistanis. They've had to keep up the arms race. They've had to bat, and that's what that war was. It was a showcase of equipment. Now everybody wants, all little nations who like fancy a little war, they all want these Turkish drones and Israeli drones. They're probably pumping them out. They've probably got an assembly line. The war is going to be interesting. If it kicks off between Russia and Ukraine, you can bet your life that Ukraine's got a load of equipment. That's why they fancy the chances. But will they get back up when the might of Russia turns on them? And with Russia, you've got to remember, it's got a lower GDP than California. It's got a lower GDP than Italy. It's not an economic powerhouse. They keep telling you it's this mighty nation. It's not. They've had to spend their money wisely. It's got a lower GDP than Italy. It's got a lower GDP than California. That's a fact. That's a fact in capital letters. If you have a list of powerful nations or GDPs, Russia's right down there. It started late to capitalism, but it's getting there with the help of China. So you've got to watch that video of Azerbaijan, the drone warfare. Right, so what would the war be like? Well, we don't know what the Russians have got, do we, up the sleeve? You see, if Turkey sells all their drones, if Turkey backs their drones as their equipment in Israel, in the Ukraine, and you've got an American equipment as well, drone equipment, because it can't be all conventional, and that's what this Azerbaijan-Armenian war shows you. Conventional warfare's gone. Tanks have gone. Just like the battleships went. The First World War, okay. Second World War, no. Tanks are now finished because of this war in Armenia and Azerbaijan. Tanks are finished. So it'd be interesting what happens. What have the Russians got up the sleeve? What have the Chinese got up the sleeve? Because the Iranians, they're investing in their drones. They've got their drones. They've tested their drones on ships. I've watched videos of drones and missiles hitting ships, test ships, planes. They're getting ready in case for a war with America. If America attacks them, they won't just roll over like Iraq. Iraq population 24 million when they got invaded. Iran population 70 odd million. They won't roll over. So they're interested. Now, part of the shell game to keep us occupied is Afghanistan. Trump did not want more troops in Afghanistan. He wanted them out. He didn't want any wars. There was no wars when Trump was president. America never invaded anybody, and he was reducing troops everywhere. First thing Biden did, his very first couple of days, he sent troops into Syria, more troops. He's organised more troops for Afghanistan. He reversed the policy. No, we're going to stick with Afghanistan because we've promised it's going to be a democracy. You've now got feminists in America saying we can't leave Afghanistan because it'll affect women's rights when the Taliban take control. Feminists are now dictating that men and women soldiers who are probably economically challenged in America, so they've had to join the army because the school credits, they get university credits, they've got a job, they've got 3 meals, they've got a roof over their head. The military is about poverty. So anyway, so feminists are saying that the American military has to stay in Afghanistan to guarantee the rights of women. You won't make it up, would you? You couldn't make it up. But Biden has now announced, as part of this shell game to keep everyone occupied, that he's pulling the American troops out, and it'll be on the final withdrawal will be on 9/11. He's made it very, very weird. See, that's the symbology of evil. 2001, 2021, 20 years. And he'll be like riding a wave of like glory that he's pulling them out after 20 years and achieved what? Well, I'll give you a couple of videos what's achieved Afghanistan. And this is stuff I used to talk about as well. WikiLeaks. DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, caught Afghanistan's Vice President in United Arab Emirates with $52 million in cash. He had $52 million in cash in wooden boxes that he was taking to Switzerland. Why is he taking $52 million in cash to Switzerland? Well, he didn't answer because he just said diplomatic immunity. So they gave him his money back in the boxes and he carried on to Switzerland. There's also documents when you check out. President Karzai and his little family, they've got $90 million worth of home ownership in Dubai. But it's not just them. There's loads of top Afghanistanis who've stolen the aid money, but they've got the opium money. They're all connected to government. They've all got diplomatic immunity in that. The Dubai was like a property boom for them. And it's like I've said before in videos, when you steal 100 million and you buy property, you're not bothered if it devalues. If it devalues 45%, you've still got $55 million left, $60 million of stolen money. And that's called laundering. That's the cost of laundering your money. You lose 40%. That's if there's a crash. But all the top Afghan, well, they've bled it dry now. So they're willing to give it up. So all the Afghanis who've robbed the money, they'll let the Taliban have Afghanistan. They'll go and live off what they've stolen for 20 years. But this was a news report. It's proper. Karzai's brother, Vice President, $52 million in wooden boxes, taking it to Switzerland. That was back in 2010. 2010. You couldn't make it up, could you? 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And then there's another report here. Afghan Vice President returns home amid rape allegations. 2018. What it was is, the Vice President, I think he was Karzai's brother as well, he had to go to Turkey. The President, Karzai, had to send him to Turkey. He had to ask Turkey, can you just look after my brother for a bit, the Vice President, while it all quietens down here? You know, like Fredo in Godfather, where he had to go and stay with another mafia family and under their protection from the revenge of what's his name, Pacino. That's what he had to do because he committed rape. So you think, oh, he's raped an helpless woman. No, he raped an elder in the northern part of Afghanistan to teach this guy a lesson who was boss. This guy's probably no saint either, but he raped an elder of a region, a tribe or whatever, to humiliate him, to show he was boss. And this guy, this Muslim Afghanistan guy, imagine the humiliation. He's being interviewed and he says, oh yeah, he got 19 of his fucking guards to rape me, and he told him, make the ground soak with his blood. And you're thinking to yourself, is this guy lying? Because he's admitting that he's been anally raped by the Vice President, who is basically a thug, a drug dealer, a warlord. You know, he's all these evil things that you can imagine. He's no different to, what's his name in Iraq, his son, Uzma, or whatever his name was, he used to just pick schoolgirls up off the road and take them and rape them. Saddam Hussein's son, he used to just get girls off the street, schoolgirls. He'd drive round schools. He'd drive through the streets of Baghdad, and if he saw a woman he liked, he'd fucking throw her in the car with his guards and then take her and rape her. He'd rape women at wedding ceremonies. He'd go and rape the bride on the day. She'd get married, and if he was at a fancy do, a hotel or something, and he saw a wedding, I watched the film of him, and he just raped the bride. He just walked in, took her away, raped her, and she committed suicide through her head. And this is based on true stories. Well, this guy was the same in Afghanistan, but you won't hear about it. Anyway, he had to go to Turkey. But this Muslim guy is admitting that he was raped by this vice president and all his guards. That's a big deal for a Muslim to do that. It's a big deal for any guy. So he's either lying or he's telling the truth. And I've got a feeling he's telling the truth. So we're in this wild period of pulling out of Afghanistan, and they've got to create as though like, yeah, mission accomplished, but the feminists are going to try and screw it up. And then you've got the war hawks who want to keep the money rolling in. Because like that $52 million, it shows you the money. That's just chicken feed. That war has created billionaires. And it's not just American ones, it's not just Jewish, it's Saudi Arabian ones as well. Because their money's invested in the war machine. The war machine is international. International billionaires coming together in the interest of war. They love war. The international billionaires love war. So we're in this really interesting period, and for me, I look at Putin and I think, thank God for Putin. Thank God. Because this world would be in a shittier place if it weren't for Putin calling the bluff of America.